Hi guys, my name is Thaddeus. I'm the founder of this digital marketing agency called Tab Media. We do e-commerce campaigns as well as lead generation campaigns for our clients. So here with me I have a guest here, and her name is Germaine. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Germaine and I'm currently a founder of AdXpert agency. So I just left Facebook about 6 months ago with my co-founder who's also from Facebook. We moved to Shenzhen and started this business.
You were working at Facebook and Twitter,
Yeah.
right? So you were, what made you want to leave Facebook and Twitter and to start your own agency in Shenzhen?
Yeah. Okay, so actually all along when I was in university, I wanted to work in the FMCG sector. Like digital marketing was not even in my consideration at all because I wasn't exposed to this. Then gradually I got an internship offer from Twitter and I was account specialist in the Greater China team. Then gradually I was exposed to the world of digital marketing and the possibilities of like making money through like ads, and then I started to really deep dive into this industry, and then that's when I landed my proper full-time job upon graduation, which was at Facebook. I was an account manager also with the Greater China region, so somehow my whole career has been with Greater China region, and that's when I decided to really move to the market itself to learn all about like the business and cultural know-hows, meeting the clients there, and just taking this plunge and leaving Facebook and going to Shenzhen.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you do as an account manager in Facebook?
So as account manager, I was in charge of the Hong Kong and Taiwan region. What we do is we have like 65 clients every quarter. So we are given like a set of products and solutions to pitch to these clients and help them grow their business in the most like optimal way. We also have to look at their clients like digital marketing plan. It's more like a consultant role where we really help to advise clients on how to better use Facebook, because in China or like in Hong Kong and Taiwan, the Greater China region, these clients, some of them have no exposure to Facebook at all. So as an account manager, we're supposed to help them with their business problems and see how we can help them through Facebook advertising.
So apart from Facebook, do these clients of Facebook, do they have other marketing efforts, or do they have zero marketing at all?
Actually, you'll be surprised. Like a lot of these clients, even they heavily rely on Facebook because it's a discovery platform, and these brands, most of them who are relatively new, they will go on Facebook, but they have no idea how to advertise. Okay. So like as any other advertiser, they will just throw in all their marketing budget into conversion campaigns. And after a while, they realized that, their ads are not converting as well, or ROAS is dropping. Because when I joined Facebook, it was 2017. Back then, it was still like the honeymoon phase of Facebook where everyone's like throwing in lots of money because of super positive results. Then 1 year into the role, everyone started complaining about how the CPM is rising, how the algorithm is messed up, and just lots of complaints every day. So besides Facebook, of course, we are faced with like questions such as, how does this compare with Google? I'm getting really like very good conversions on Google. And then I'll just tell them like these two platforms work hand in hand with each other. Google is a like search intent platform, Facebook is discovery. You need both to really grow your brand overseas. Yeah.
So at AdXpert, so okay, how do I pronounce it?
Okay, so our agency is spelled as AdXpert. So it's like we call it expert. Okay. But everyone calls us AdXpert.
Okay.
Yeah.
I call it AdXpert.
Okay, fine, AdXpert.
So at AdXpert, what kind of clients do you guys serve?
Okay, so being based in China, our main objective is to help like all these Chinese brands go global through Facebook advertising. That's our main goal, because in China, you know that like people have to use Facebook through VPN, right? Yeah. And then there are a lot of issues. There's also a huge knowledge gap, which we hope to close. Because during our time at Facebook, we realized that there's a lot of things that can be done to help all these advertisers in the market, but because we are based in Singapore, we are too far away from the problems that these advertisers face. So we decided to really be there and understand all the problems to see what are some ways we can help them to go global, because in China, everyone who uses Facebook is focusing on cross-border business. They want to export their products and services out of China because the domestic market is just too saturated. Yeah. Then that's essentially our main business models. But of course, along the way, we discover new things. And we are still figuring out. We are a very new startup. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned you guys were doing a lot of e-com and Kickstarter campaigns. So especially for me, I was pretty new to, as I've never really touched crowdfunding campaigns and whatnot. So maybe you want to give a small introduction of what crowdfunding campaigns, Kickstarter campaigns.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, our main business model is to help like Chinese clients go out of China. So when we moved to Shenzhen, it's like the Silicon Valley of hardware tech. So a lot of crowdfunding clients or more like clients who have a very good product innovation, they just don't know where to take it. Of course, the easiest way is to take it to like Amazon, take it to Shopify. But what we realized that there's a huge opportunity on all these crowdfunding platforms because there are a lot of organic traffic coming from Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So for all those who don't know crowdfunding, basically, as long as you have any idea, you can just put it onto this platform.
Right.
And people who are interested, usually the early adopters, is a very, very niche group of people who are willing to pledge to all these campaigns because you don't get the products immediately. Sometimes you have to wait like up to 6 months or even years to get the product. Yeah, so people take it to this platform and fulfill the idea through the pledges that they get. So crowdfunding helps in a way for new brands, especially for like Chinese clients, to go international because of the international audiences that will go to these platforms. Yeah.
Cool. So you do like e-commerce, Shopify, Kickstarter campaigns. So usually before your clients hire you guys, what kind of problems do you see that they face? What are the most common problems do they face?
Yeah, I think in China, one of the most common problems I've encountered so far is the product market fit problem. Like people who have tons of products and like new innovation, they have so much faith in the product that they don't do sufficient research to see if this product is actually suitable for like X target audience. So everyone, it's not say like naive in a way, but I feel like there should be sufficient research done to really validate your products to a certain product group, like a target audience, so that when you run ads or do whatever marketing efforts, you make sure that you get positive returns. Because these people, without sufficient research, right, like their products just don't convert well, and then they start to blame like multiple reasons. Yeah, so I feel like the common problem we face is all these Chinese guys have lots of products, but they just haven't done sufficient research to identify their customer group. Yeah.
So do these clients beforehand, do they try to run their own Facebook campaigns and then they fail and then they decide to hire, or they start out with an idea of a product and then decide to hire an agency?
Usually we have both. The first one is more common because all these Chinese clients assume that they can do it in-house. Like, Facebook advertising is very easy. And then once they take it to the platform, they realize that there are a lot of little issues such as, for example, like copywriting. It's not native enough for international audiences, even creatives. Like what historically a lot of people who do like B2B, they transform to start selling to B2B, B2C model now. So they just take creatives off like Amazon, off anywhere you can, like Taobao, for example, just the product image, and use it for Facebook ads. And then they'll start saying like, why doesn't it convert well, blah, blah, blah. But there are a lot of best practices that they don't know of. So these are some things that when they reach out to us, we'll perhaps give like a consultation first to see whether there are ways we can help them grow their business. But most of the time, we would prefer to take the whole thing and ad buy ourselves so that we really know like what exactly we can change. Because sometimes ad buying is based on your gut instinct. You cannot just like tell them, hey, you should change this and that. And if they were to reach out to an agency just for consultation, sometimes the client, right, they don't have the in-house capability to take on our advices. Yeah, so that's also another problem that we face because we can give as much advice as possible, but they just don't have the like resources to execute it. Yeah.
Usually, what kind of advice do you first give them, and then before you think that they can't cope with the advice you're giving them?
So I can quote an example. Like a lot of Chinese clients, they do conversion ads, right, for retargeting, but they don't know that there's DPA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they don't know that they can use catalog to run like retargeting ads, for example.
Okay.
So then we'll tell them, oh, there's actually this huge opportunity for you to do retargeting with the catalog, right? And then the problem comes when they don't know how to set up. Yeah,
okay.
so we can give a lot of advice, but we also have to handhold them to like help them with the catalog setup, help them to integrate this and that. So the most cost-efficient and time-saving ways to help them do it in-house. Yeah, so we can guarantee that the results actually deliver.
So, in terms of crowdfunding or e-commerce, what are the biggest components or the biggest elements that contributes to a successful Facebook campaign?
Crowdfunding.
Crowdfunding.
Okay. I would, because crowdfunding, nature of it is when your campaign go live, people typically want to get hit 100% of their funding goal in less than 24 hours because this will affect the Kickstarter algorithm to boost your campaign onto like the homepage or get certain features. So in order to do that, right, if you're a completely new brand, what people usually do is during the pre-launch phase, they will gather as much emails as they can. So these are people that have seen the ad and left their emails because they show interest in your product. So all these emails will typically lead to like 1 to 5% of conversion for Kickstarter campaigns.
Okay.
So you have to make sure that the pre-launch efforts that you do is sufficient for you to hit 100% of your funding goal within that 24 hours.
So after these 24 hours, how do you continue to keep getting purchases or pledges in?
Yeah. So for crowdfunding, usually the first 3 days you'll see like this spike, right? The momentum is like this, and then in the middle it's like flat, really flat. Towards the last 3 days it rises again. So what people usually do is to keep the momentum up in between. They can look for PR to amplify or KOLs to film videos to like validate this product, or of course like go crazy on your advertising budget. But typically the first 3 days and the last 3 days are the most important. Okay. So in the middle, you have to rely on organic ways, or there are also a lot of tools that allows you to share to get certain discount. Okay. So there are a lot of things that you can do to keep the momentum up in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So for Kickstarter campaigns, are promotions widely used in terms of, like, for example, if the campaigns are ending, do you guys give promotions to boost the pledges?
Yes, it's something similar to like flash sale you do during like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We can adopt that kind of strategy, or we can do like a cashback kind of strategy. Okay. So there are many different strategies we can use to like ensure or to entice people to pledge. Okay. Yeah.
As the person in charge of all the ad buy-in for your clients, what are the biggest problems that you face?
I think there's a lot of pressure when it comes to like running ads without really knowing the client's brand first. Okay. So I have to do a lot of research just to make sure that I know how to angle the ad copy, the target audience, look at their current like existing presence online. Mm-hmm. So the problem comes when I tried all my best practices, but there's no conversion. Okay. So I realized along the way that there's really no one size fits all strategy. I have to keep changing, keep optimizing, and because the algorithm changes every day, right? Yeah. And I haven't seen Ted's ad buyer roadmap course. But really, I think I have to keep improvising. Even though I tried like a lot of guru strategies or I adopt my own strategy, but sometimes even though I've tried all best practices, but there's just no conversion. So I realized, okay, I shouldn't blame myself for the ads, but rather I take a step back, look at the bigger picture to see where in the exact like marketing funnel I'm missing out, or perhaps it's the website flow, or perhaps it's like the Facebook page. We are not doing enough organic posts to gain trust from the clients, from customers. So yeah, I have to look at the entire like marketing, not just ads itself.
Got it. Mm-hmm. So you spoke about the Facebook algorithm just now. Mm-hmm. So working at Facebook previously, do you have any behind the scenes of how the actual Facebook algorithm works?
The algorithm, even though there are like professionals or the engineers from US who come to share with us about the algorithm, but it changes so frequently because of new products updates, or for example the introduction of CPO. So we actually don't know what the algorithm is. I just go back to basics, look at the entire like funnel metrics and see where exactly is the like leaky bucket and where we can optimize towards. Yeah.
So what are the common mistakes do you see that most marketers make in when buying Facebook ads?
I think the most common one is patience. Because a lot of marketers, like, they just run an ad, and when there's no conversion, people start to panic, they turn off their ad sets and whatnot. But honestly, sometimes it takes a while for Facebook to learn what you're doing or who you're finding. And it really takes patience to see results taking off. So sometimes, like, when people just turn off ad sets, I think it really affects their marketing performance on Facebook, because these are things that actually work, but it's just you need to give it time for Facebook to learn. Or other ways is really to look at all the different variables that would affect your ad set, and perhaps like just do things to, for example, like optimize your creative, optimize your ad copy for different target audience. Yeah.
So when something goes wrong in your Facebook ad campaigns, what is the first thing that you look at?
Like I mentioned, I would go back to basics to see the entire funnel metrics. So typically a benchmark that I like to use is based on like 1,000 impressions, what is my click-through rate? And I will benchmark it against the client's like historical performance to see what is the best they have performed at. Yeah, so like down from click-through rate, then you look at view content, add to cart, and finally like purchase. So yeah, I will just go back to basics and make sure that these things are in place. Yeah.
In what scenario is ideal for business to outsource their ad buy? Like, for example, there are companies that have their own marketing team, and they don't hire agencies at all. But in what kind of scenarios is it best for these kind of companies to actually hire an agency?
Agency comes in really when there's a specialty or niche that you need help in. For example, I can only relate my experience based on the Chinese clients that I work with, but a lot of them, for example, they have very professional like in-house photography team or video shoot team, but they don't have in-house like good marketer to do ad buying, because like I mentioned, they don't really know about the international audiences like preferences. So in such cases, I think hiring an agency who specializes in overseas branding is very important. And then what we can do is just give advice on the creative best practices. Once they design it, they can just send it to us and we can do the ad buy. I think what is really critical is that when the agency is doing ad buy, clients should not do it in-house as well, because there's a lot of like overlaps involved, and unless you can establish a really good communication, there should only be one party doing it. Yeah, because I have this experience where my client actually did it behind our back, and we weren't aware until I got targeted by his ad. And then I saw that it was completely like, I was quite shocked. It was an exact copy of what I wrote and what I'm doing on my ads manager. So then I approached them, and then they say, they stopped it already because the ROS is not good, blah, blah, blah. But I just think that there needs to be proper communication if you want to do it in-house as well. If not, just leave it to the agency to take it wholesale. Yeah.
What do you think is the most important and biggest element in running a running a successful Facebook campaign?
A lot of trial and error. Yeah, because the market changes so frequently, right? And not just like Facebook algorithm, but you have to adapt your campaigns according to what's happening the most in recent times. For example, like right along with all the hot topics, for example, like with the recent, like for Singapore's context, a recent ban of like PMD, etc. Perhaps you can adapt your ad copy according to what's happening. Yeah, because I think one thing I've learned is that even though you have a very structured like social media calendar, but these are things that have to be adapted along the way. You have to see what's happening in the news, what are some hottest topic that people are talking about. So once you adapt to this, you realize, sometimes your ad or your organic content can go really viral, and you can reduce your ad spend in that sense. Yeah.
Am I right to say that in the ads manager, is it the ad creative, ad copy is the most important thing when running a Facebook campaign, or is it like having your campaign structured in a certain way? You have this manual bidding, you bid like 2x or something. So ad creatives more important in this sense?
I think based on my experience at Facebook, then actually our focus really changed quite a bit. In like 2017, it was really all about getting your basics right, like how to set up a proper campaign, the bidding and whatnot. But in 2018, moving on to 2019, the entire company's focus was on creatives, because everyone's moving to like a mobile first world. People are consuming content daily. That's the first thing you see, the last thing like you see before you sleep. So moving towards like optimizing creatives, even though it's the thing that most people neglect, I realize that it's very important, because sometimes even if you are just targeting broadly, but with a very strong creative, people will convert. So I guess like one thing that I'm putting a lot of focus on right now is making good creatives and ad copy that is very relevant to a specific target audience. Even if it's just for broad targeting, I'll make sure that the creative is very eye-catching.
Right now, it's in 2019, so we see a lot of ad costs going up. So what do you think, as marketers, what do you think we can do to survive in the Facebook ads world?
Okay, so each time when it's Q4, internally people will be like, oh, winter is coming, there's rising CPM, rising costs. I think as marketers, like, we should really embrace change. And I think, like I mentioned before, just keep testing and keep doing trial and errors. Don't stick to a specific way or framework to run ads, because things just changes so frequently. So stick to best practices, but also look out to like gurus online or like a lot of join the Facebook groups, be part of the conversation to discuss about the latest things that are happening. So you can change the way that you're running ads and pick up like new strategies along the way.
Do you think that there is one fixed way of running Facebook ad, or is it constantly changing? Is it like fluid? Because recently I've been running my ads in a certain structure, campaign structure, and then I hear like podcasts and like YouTubes and all that stuff. So they encourage us to run our campaigns. Like, for example, I run in my ad set, I will leave at least 2 to 5 ads running at any point of time. And then recently, one of my friend, he does event seminar campaign. So basically, he's actually quite new in this marketing. So he was an innocent guy. He just didn't know how to run any ads. So he just kind of like tested out, threw some money inside. And then, so basically what he did was he just had one CBO campaign. He didn't test anything before, 4 ad sets, and he had like almost 15 ads running in an ad set. And it performed like super crazily well. So the point is, does the campaign structure affect your ad results in any way?
Yeah, I think Facebook does advocate that a campaign should be set up in a certain way, but I've also seen so many like gurus talk about Facebook advertising, right? And they all have their own set of best practices, and some of it actually conflict. Like maybe this guru say, oh, you should have one campaign with like 2 to 5 ad sets with about 3 to 4 ads in it, but there are also some gurus who talk about, oh, just one campaign, one ad set, one ad. And I've also seen people with just one campaign, many ad sets, and couple of like ads inside. So I would say structure is important, but work with the structure that suits you the best, or like suits your products the best, because ultimately if you're the one running ads, you need to know what's the best way to, like, for example, quickly duplicate your ad sets or whatever. But going back to like basics is also very important. Like, you should figure out your own way of running ads that benefits you the most. So personally for me, until now, I'm still trying to figure out a best way to run CBO campaigns. So what I like to do is I have one ad set without CBO, one campaign without CBO, and I'll duplicate the exact same thing with CBO. So I'll start to notice like the changes in the first few days. So my observation is that for non-CBO campaigns, they tend to perform well in the first 3 days. But gradually for like the CBO campaign, right? On the third day, there's this like intersection where the CBO campaign starts to perform well with lower costs and like better results. So these are things that I'm still trying to like test myself to see whether CBO is like the best way forward, because we have no choice, right? I mean, it's gonna be like implemented soon. So for me, that's my main focus now, like figuring out what's the best structure for CBO. Even though I still have this habit of like duplicating just to see whether it's working, but I realize it works well for long-term campaigns. So campaigns that are turned on like for a week or so, CBO performs really well. If it's like a flash sale, perhaps non-CBO is better, because you can scale more quickly and ensure that the budget is allocated to the ad sets in a fair way, and not like to the country with the lower CPM, for example.
Okay. So what kind of businesses out there would be able to leverage on Facebook ads to grow and scale their company? Is there a specific kind of industry where Facebook ads does not work at all, or can Facebook ads work for every industry?
Well, I would say Facebook ads work for most industries. I think like, it's how easy it is to scale and find your audiences, right? Like, I mean, it works of course the best for B2C. B2B works well too, only if you have sufficient data to let the ads optimize on.
Right.
Yeah. So generally, I think it's suitable for all industries as long as you know how to run ads and find your audiences. Yeah, like very niche targeting works for like B2B, but maybe of course the conversion won't be as good as B2C. Yeah, so you still have to evaluate. I think it's good for brand awareness for sure. So if you have that right mentality, that when you run Facebook ads, your aim is not to like have positive ROI, it's really just for branding, which is also very hard to quantify, then it's okay. Yeah.
Guys, one issue that I had with my client was the fulfillment and inventory management. Because when you try to scale a Facebook ads, the back end is also affected, right? If I try to increase the ad spend, like if I try to double my ad spend, like let's say within the next day, the chances is that they might not be able to fulfill the products and whatnot. So how do you cope with that? Like what does scaling look like in terms of you for your e-com campaigns? I
think our clients experience that when it's close to like Chinese New Year or peak seasons. So the only way really is to base it on your historical like sales and have foresight as to what the growth is or what this sudden peak is like, and communicate earlier to your fulfillment companies. Or another thing is to identify like the top few countries that you're getting most sales in, and perhaps like get a bulk shipment to that particular local warehouse. So that will help in terms of fulfillment. But if let's say the factory is just out of stock, there's also nothing you can do, right? So the only way is to like communicate in advance and make sure that you diversify. Not, for example, if it's like for drop shipping, single product store, then it might be a little bit hard if your particular like winning product just goes out of stock. So you need to make sure that you diversify and have multiple products or like income stream. If not, when like it goes down, like you're just, So Thaddeus, you've been interviewing me for the past like 30 minutes. Would you like to share about your experience as a marketer so far?
Yep, sure. So when I first started out there, I was listening to podcasts, YouTube videos, and buying online courses. So there were many different strategies out there that they claim to be the right one. And then, so being the innocent guy, being the beginner that I was, so I just tried to try many different strategies. And what I noticed was that not all of them were working, right? Because what might work for others might not work for you, especially because ad accounts behave so very differently. So basically what I learned from this whole scenario was that like it's from this one sentence, like everyone's wrong until proven right. It doesn't matter like if people say that, it doesn't matter if like gurus say that video ads work better, or like webinars don't work anymore. Like it always comes down to actually testing it yourself and actually putting the hard work and then tracking all that, because if you spend like let's say $1,000 to test out whether video ads work or not, chances is not going to be statistically significant, right? So the greatest takeaway from my experience is everyone's wrong until proven right, and then you have to really go and test, spend time and money actually go and testing out before concluding that either something is working or something is not.
I agree. I think a lot of people put in say $100 and then they conclude that this is wrong. So then it takes a little bit of probing to really understand what they did before. Then you identify what's the problem, and sometimes I will tell like clients to give it a second try. Like you can test it again, but perhaps with a higher budget or a different creative or ad copy. So I think based on my experience, like coming up from Facebook was also a little bit challenging because in a company you are just told about all the best practices until you actually try yourself and you are like, what's going on? So for me it's also a learning journey. Like every day I'm just exposed to like all these new challenges. I think it's still very exciting. I really love digital marketing and of course the money making opportunities. I think it's a great ride so far.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and Thank you, Germaine, for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.